welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on CBS that will extort you for every fire token you've ever had. That's right, we're talking about Survivor Season 40 Winners at War, Episode 11. We have a lot to go over, so let's start off where last episode left off. And that was Jeremy piecing out of Tribal Council, heading back to the campsite alone, safe, but no voting. He's sitting there waiting in the dark for everyone to show back up, and they finally do. However, they keep him in the dark at what happened at Tribal Council, as they keep on just saying how crazy it was. They've never seen anything like it. But Jeremy tells the camera, hey, I'm not going to be sent home with an advantage in my pocket just so I can stay and vote with somebody. Maybe foreshadow, maybe not. The next morning, Tony does what Tony does best, and that is scramble around looking for a hidden idol, going around trying to find something because he knows that the numbers are dwindling, time is running out, and he needs safety. He wants safety. And while he's looking around in this island for an idol, that's when Nick shows up, meets up with him, and that's when they're kind of like, okay, well, we'll divide and conquer. You go that way, I'll stay over here. And essentially, Tony already looked where Nick is going. So instead of dividing and conquering, Nick is on a wild goose chase as Tony is running around looking for the idol, and he finds it, and he feels like there's a pep in his step and he is ready to keep on playing this game. While Sarah wants to put on a fashion show, that's when Tony and Jeremy go off and talk like, hey, you and me, we're the number one and number two. Tony is kind of being like a double agent, playing both sides of the island, trying to have his cake and eat it too, and he's doing a good job, except for Kim, who sees through this disguise, sees through his double agency, and is really suspicious of Tony. Now let's head over to the edge of extinction, where everybody is gathering up firewood, and that's when Natalie finds a bottle with a riddle inside. Her and Parvati are reading it, trying to figure out where this clue could lie, where the advantage is, and they finally figure out that it's underneath the shelter's bed. Nobody leaves this thing because there's nothing to do on the edge of extinction, so everyone is just sleeping all day, every day. Luckily, everybody wanted to go see the sunset today, so they go off, leave the shelter finally, and that's when Natalie strikes. She finds the scroll underneath the bottom of the bed, she takes it out, and that's when her and Parvati read it, and this is a different advantage than what we've seen in the game so far coming out of the edge of extinction. Normally what happens is that they find an advantage for people in the main game that's null and void for everything that happens on the edge of extinction, and then they have to entice somebody to buy it from them for an amount of fire tokens, and then they can use it for getting peanut butter or whatever they want. This time, it's an advantage for the people on the edge of extinction and a disadvantage to whoever they give it to in the main game, as this thing is called the extortion advantage. And this thing is powerful as they're going to give it to somebody in the main game, and they have to pay a certain amount of fire tokens, a ransom, to be able to not only compete in the immunity challenge, but to have a vote at Tribal Council. Holy crap, that is crazy. They have to give it to somebody that they know would have to pay it and will try to pay it as soon as possible. And they know Tony is frantic, that he has those tendencies to do whatever he can to not only compete, but to get a vote. They send it to Tony. Tony is reading it with the biggest smile on his face, thinking this is an advantage. And then he gets to the bottom where this is played against him, and he is downtrodden. Like, he is so sad, he is melancholy. He only has 3 fire tokens. He has to go around trying to figure out who has fire tokens. He knows the last time he talked to him that Michelle had 4 fire tokens. However, she used that for her 50-50 coin, so she has nothing. And she has to tell him that she has an advantage. However, it's not an advantage that can be used in the main game, it's for the edge of extinction. So she kind of lies but says the truth at the same time. Finally, Tony goes to Jeremy. Jeremy gives him one of his fire tokens. He goes to Nick. Nick gives Tony one of his fire tokens. And finally, he goes to Ben. And he gets one last fire token, the last one he needs right before the immunity challenge. So now he gets a vote and he gets to play in the immunity challenge. Speaking of the immunity challenge, let's head on over to that one. And this is one where people are holding onto a giant rod while trying to balance on a balance beam. And they have to try to balance a pawn statue with a backboard on this very precarious cliff of a stand, and they have to hold it there for as long as you can. The last person standing not only wins immunity, but also 2 fire tokens. At the start of this immunity challenge, everyone's holding out strong except for Kim, who drops first, and nobody else really drops until everyone moves to the far back of this balance beam, and that's when Denise drops, Nick drops, Sophie, Sarah, and the last 3 people in this challenge is Ben, Jeremy, and Tony. They're holding out well. Jeremy has been the strongest out of everybody in this challenge. And then everyone starts to wobble. Ben drops, then Jeremy, leaving Tony as the sole person standing. He wins immunity for the second week in a row, and he gets 2 fire tokens to help pay off his debts to the other people in the tribe, as he was given their fire tokens to pay for his ransom or his extortion fees. Back at campsite, everyone has to figure out what they're going to do, and that's when a good chunk of the tribe decides that they're just going to figure this out right here, right now, so they don't have what happened last week happen to them this week. So they're talking, they figure out that they're going to play 2 votes to Michelle, the rest for Jeremy, sending Jeremy outside of this game. And then at the water well, Denise and Kim tell Jeremy, hey, just vote out Ben, we're gonna vote him out, we're sick and tired of him, he's annoying. And Jeremy's like, I concur, I find him so annoying on this island, I want him out of this game. So it seems like everything is going according to plan. Nobody's really scheming, nobody's doing anything. Time is trickling down to tribal council. However, that's when Tony springs his plan. And this is when he figures out that Sarah and Sophie are getting way too close. That Sarah's Tony's number 1 and he wants her all to himself. And so that's when he springs it on people at the last minute. Hey, to Nick, first he's like, hey, guess what? We need to get a blindside going and we're gonna get Sophie out this week. Nick doesn't seem apprehensive at all and says, okay, I'm cool with that. He goes to Jeremy and is pleading with Jeremy to just vote Sophie. Jeremy doesn't like what happened last week. He doesn't have an advantage this week, so he doesn't need all these people running around talking, whispering, and doing all these different crazy things at tribal council because he is totally vulnerable. But Tony is trying to tell him, look, everybody's gonna vote you out anyways. If you don't vote Sophie the way that I'm telling everyone to, then you're gonna be the next one out. Jeremy seems reluctant, but he's going to do it, and he has to go tell Michelle, who we saw last week vote Tyson out when we thought that she was a part of the other tribe, the other half of the island. At tribal council is much quieter than what it was last week in the fact that there's not a 50 billion times whispering to everybody walking around doing their thing. People are going behind the torches to make a definitive decision in this tribal council, but the conversation is for blindsides and towards the end of the game, and it's very specific to what happens in what was happening in the thought process heading into this tribal council. So it's a little eerie, it's a little weird, but everybody decides to vote. They're voting, they come back, and that's when Jeff decides to read the votes, and it comes out to the beginning 2-2 between Michelle and Jeremy. And Jeremy is just looking at everybody like, y'all played me, and now I can't trust any of y'all. Then it gets to 2-3 between Michelle and Jeremy, and that's when Sophie starts having her name come up. One after another, and after another, and now it's at a 2-3-3 between Jeremy and Sophie going home, and that's when Jeff reads the final vote, and it is for Sophie to head to the edge of extinction. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm actually kind of upset that Sophie is gone. She was playing a very strong, tough game. She even has an idol in her pocket, and I know this is going to plague her at the edge of extinction, just sitting there going like, should I have seen this coming? Was there something that would have opened the gates and made me realize that I should have played the idol? Should I have played it beforehand? Should I have held on to it? Who knew about this? Did Sarah know about this and she was voting me out? That kind of thing. And I think it's just gonna plague her at the edge of extinction. She seemed pretty heartbroken when she got over there. She gave up her 2 fire tokens, 1 to Sarah, 1 to Kim, and Tony is looking like he is on top of the world right now, but I feel as though there's a huge target on his back, especially leading into the next episode. But that's what happened with this episode. What do you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What do you think about Sophie being blindsided? Do you think it was a good move, or were you sad to see Sophie leave, or did you wish somebody else would have left instead? Let me know that in the comment section below. And what do you think about Tony this episode? We got a ton of Tony. It was Tony time, and he took advantage of everything. I still can't believe he got all of the extortion money. But what did you think about his play this week? Let me know that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more challenge content, more content in general, and join me next week for another Survivor review and recap. But until then, peace.